Hello and welcome. For many years, it was felt that Chinese goods were taking over the US economy and invading US stores, and it was quite evident and perceptible. But things are changing now. There's a lot of manufacturing that's coming back to the United States as more automation has come in, and the costs have gone up, particularly in exporting countries like China. So what does this mean for the US and other markets like that? And then for countries like India? To discuss that, I'm joined by Sridhar Seshadri, Professor and Senior Associate Dean for Faculty and Research at the Indian School of Business. Professor, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
So you've been looking at this issue quite closely, and I know you've also created a paper on this subject. So tell us your broad thoughts first. I mean, what is causing manufacturing to come back to the United States, and what is bringing it back? What are the driving forces, and what could this mean for the rest of the world?
So there are traditional arguments. The traditional arguments have been other places are cheaper, they're easier to do business, which is true. Look at Hong Kong, Singapore. You know, they have, you can open a business quickly, their logistics are more efficient, but nobody can survive if their costs are too high or too low. So one thing I'm quite convinced about is, even though people bring the cost argument, it is more than simple arbitrage of cost which is driving things from US to China and back, right? So basically, I think the way we have to look at it is the return we get in the sector with respect to the risk I'm taking in the sector. I mean, that's finance 101, if you wish, right? So, and I'll throw in one more piece, that Germany has been a very stable manufacturing base. Japan has been a very stable manufacturing base, and so is Malaysia. I still feel that it's also coming up, and a lot of manufacturing gets done in Malaysia, right? So how do we understand this? That there is this whole spectrum of countries, and some have got different labor costs, and of course there are increasing labor costs and increasing and decreasing level of automation. So higher the labor costs, higher the automation, lower the labor costs, lower the automation. I think one thing is clear: no technology whose cost of production is too high can survive in a global world. No, there can't be arbitrage. So let's say all these technologies coexist. Then if they all coexist, then it cannot be cost, labor cost. It must be the unit cost of production. But as I already said, in the long run, unit cost of production, if you're too high, you're dead. So we were looking, probably it is not labor cost, but it is the return in relation to the risk of, risk due to the market. And also capital availability. Now let's, for example, say, look, capital is freely available. Then I'm willing to automate, and I'm going to keep the manufacturing in the US, because per unit costs being the same, capital is available, then I'll put it. If capital is scarce, I would expect manufacturing to flee to China. So here's an alternate explanation, which is not cost-based, which is purely a cash availability, availability of investment in the sector, which drives things. Very interestingly, the countries in the middle group are protected, like they're the last to see the effect, because the ends swing much more than the middle of the spectrum. So if I'm a medium cost, medium automation guy, I can probably survive swings in capital availability.
So would that be a country like India?
No. India is at the low end.
Okay.
Somebody like Germany, somebody like Malaysia, somebody like Japan, I think they can still survive, because maybe US is the most productive country in manufacturing, which means the wages are the highest, which means the automation levels are the highest. And therefore, anytime there is a capital fleeing from one sector to another, you will find US closing its factories. I think the second thing is risk. If I'm highly automated, then when the market moves, then I have to close my plant, which I can't do if I've built my capacity. But if I'm in China, I can hire and fire workers, or in India, very labor intensive. I can lay off people if the laws permit me to. So the flexibility of scaling capacity up and down affects. So if the markets get more turbulent, you start seeing probably capacity movement from one country to another. Again, the middle guys will be less affected. So this is some research we've been doing for years, which basically says, how does the market affect manufacturing?
Right. So what is is there an India opportunity in this, or are we now, so as you said, we are not in the middle end, we are not on the extremes.
No, we are on the extremes. But what has happened is, we are slightly more expensive than China. If you look at the total cost of doing business,
infrastructure, logistics,
unions, government permits, delays at the ports, you add that to hiring and firing capabilities, the speed of movement in our law courts and all that, and acquisition of land. I mean, just to give you the usual excuses, and excise duty and central sales tax, you have it. So, if you look at the cost of doing business and add it to the labor cost, I think we are probably maybe a little bit more expensive than the Chinese, except in areas where we have a distinct edge. For example, diamond polishing. We've been looking at that. I think there we are a low cost compared to Belgium, which is a high cost producer of the same jewel. So you do see probably that we have an edge over the Chinese producers in that one market, right? When you take leather goods, I think China is several times our size simply because they have a significant cost advantage to us. So China and India probably are fighting for the same spot in the low-end spectrum. Okay. Now, of course, we can always talk on what moves. I'm not an expert on India. I can only speculate. But just stepping back a minute, it is a demand swings, right, and the volatility of the financial markets. These are the two things, and capital availability. As capital becomes scarce and loose, I think there are movements, and these are reasons other than a pure cost arbitrage. Because this is the only reason I think we can explain Japan's or Germany's, at least Germany's persistence. Okay. Now, we want to come to India. India suffers from both. It has a problem of capital availability, so it's not able to scale. And I think it has a problem of not being cheap enough, just slightly. And the only solution there again is to scale, right? So to get to global size, it's very few of these companies have managed. So simplest example is we must be the highest consumers of cell phones in the world, right? But they are not made in India.
Right, and that's also boosting our import bill. So
I don't know. So here is a simple example of why we can't produce something which is so heavily used in the country. And I'm not, as I said, we are looking into it, right? We have a huge unorganized sector there which doesn't want to scale also. And there may be other reasons for it. We have a research proposal out. I haven't done a detailed study, but the problem there seems to be that not many of our firms, manufacturing firms, have scaled up. Still, no upstarts who have managed to, become a world-class player. There are a few like that.
So, but you're referring more to light engineering.
Light, heavy, wherever. Look, oil and natural gas, we should keep aside. What else is there? Commodity trading, we should take it out of the picture. Then we are left with what? Textiles, probably. We are left with maybe medical equipment, auto ancillary, right? I don't know. And pharma. Pharma is a success, of course. But we have managed to scale up spectacularly. So the industries where we are big, we have done well. But the disaster is in the industries where we haven't reached scale. So one of the questions we propose, we are planning to study, is why doesn't the Indian entrepreneur scale? So we have many hypotheses for it. including all of them, financial availability and all that. Then there's one more. I think there is I was discussing today, what we call a glass ceiling to growth. So as you grow from small to big, more regulations, more auditing, more, I don't know, rules and to be followed. So my profit actually goes down as I grow, and then it goes up. But then I think it first dips and goes up, and a lot of small guys are caught in this trap. So they are happy with a reasonable wage, and the entrepreneur, and probably they're saying, why should I take the extra effort to become systematic, governance, strategy conference here, which is telling you all that, right? Maybe that's one hypothesis. And another hypothesis saying, maybe it's behavioral. We don't know. We don't want to grow. We lose control, right? So there is a cost for becoming big, a price for becoming big, of losing control, of not having managerial skills, right? And that barrier, people are not crossing. So I don't know why.
Right. So let's, take this and apply it, if we can, to the world of academia, right? So you're also trying to get talent and scale. Not scale in size, I guess, but scale in size as well. Yeah, you've got 2 campuses you need. So how are you sort of grappling with the challenges there?
We have hit upon a particular formula which allows us to launch programs very well. I think we are world class in doing that. I think we have internal processes, we have good partners, schools, and good relationships with the industry. We have built up sufficient credibility, which allows us to scale. We don't face the problems as in manufacturing. First of all, there's demand for education. I think if we want to, in this country, we could have 10 ISBs and still there will be demand for management education, right? Unlike engineering, management education is not good, high quality management education is not scaled. So first thing I think is we are not short of demand. That's what we have shown, number one, right? Neither there is a shortage of demand from the industries or the firms who recruit from us, because we are managing to place these people, right? There's demand for education and there is demand for the students. So demand is not been a constraint in education in India.
Amazingly, yeah.
Everybody wants a job and nobody wants to give their daughter to marriage to a person who is not educated these days, probably, right? I mean, gone are those days.
And the daughters want to be educated as well.
That is an amazing phenomenon, because if you go to certain poor neighborhoods which never used to send their daughters to school, one thing you see in these neighborhoods is the presence of bookshops. So, there are parts of the city where, I would not see a single bookshop, say 30 years ago. In every corner, there is a store which is selling notebooks and pencils and stuff like that. So I think the value for education has gone up, and people are not having as many children because they say it's costly to send them to school. So it is having a curve, not just, it's having a positive impact on even the size of the relative growth rate, because it's expensive to educate today. Right? So our challenge has never been demand. Our challenge has never been money too, in the sense that luckily for us, we have the good supporting industrialists who have started the school, and we have our alumni base, and we have so many well-wishers in all walks, including the government, the state government, the Andhra Pradesh state government, who all have contributed to setting up this institution. So everybody has helped, right? So what's our only bottleneck? Faculty. Our biggest problem is identifying, recruiting, retaining, developing faculty who are comparable to the best in the world. Now that's a challenge. I don't think any Indian education institution has completely, I may be wrong, there are a few, TIFR, ISC, I'm sure, ISI with its, research backup. But on the management side, I think that's the struggle right now. So we want people who engage. This is a different kind of research. It's in the interface between the business and academics. And so this is sort of applied. Some of it is theoretical, some of it is empirical. And these people are in short supply.
So what's so your agenda for 2014, let's say? How are you going to, what are you planning to do in terms of adding capacity? And what are the specific areas that you're likely to focus more on, verticals or subjects?
Nothing. I mean, at the moment, we want to hire everywhere. We are very opportunistic. And in a school like this, which is a research-oriented school, people will come, people will leave. Okay, it's the culture of research schools. People will tend to move. They may get better offers. We love it when my faculty gets a better offer. We know we got good faculty. We're not scared, right? But we're going to lose people for many reasons, family reasons. Maybe research is not doing well, teaching. So because our standards are equally high in terms of teaching and research. And so there is a lot of pressure internally. So we are always looking to hire. We are now looking to grow a little bit because we have a couple of campuses, right? So what's our priority? Our priority is twofold. I think one is recruiting as usual, being more proactive, reaching out to people for help. I think the other thing we are trying to do is, making ISB a better place to be in. So we are creating a lot of research-related activities, not just these conferences which we have, which is good. We have a top-notch conference in, finance. We are hosting a strategy conference now. We are going to host a operations management conference starting 19th in Hyderabad, international conference. So, and then we have an accounting conference starting on the 19th.
And that's your area of specialization as well?
Operations management, yeah. So, but we are trying to encourage people to come here for sabbatical visits. We are trying to help get people to come work on summer. We are trying to, make it a place where, people can do research. So, I don't know how to explain it, but it is the image of the place, it is the quality of the experience you get. If somebody comes and says, aha, I spent 4 weeks at ISB and I managed to, complete all my pending tasks, I think that is the good thing, right? And that's what some of the people who visit me say, yeah, this is a nice place. I didn't know you could get so much done here. But that's what a researcher wants. So we are trying to create that environment, seminars, workshops, visitors, sabbatical visitors, exchange, and partner school interactions. You can't be a closed system and attract people. So to be a world-class university or college, we should have a constant flow of good people. Otherwise, we'll become completely inward-looking, right? And so this should be the destination for doing emerging market research in the country. If we can get that reputation, then our job is done. My recruiting becomes a secondary task.
Right.
Otherwise, recruiting is very painful because, what do? I'll pay you more to come here. He says, why? Why should I come here? And then after a few years, somebody else pays this person and they go away. Instead, if they enjoy being here, I don't have a problem, right? And I think that's what ISB has slowly, got the reputation of being a destination for good research.
Right, and I think you've sort of given us the full circle. Beginning with manufacturing challenges around the globe, and finding the position or the place within that with a competitive advantage, and to academia with your own position of attracting talent and manufacturing good quality product and service as it might be.
Yeah, so we understand the challenges, but I think doing these interviews is good. The more people know about ISB and what we do here, I mean, their worries are alleviated. That we mean business.
Yeah.
It's a nice place.
And there's someone thinking about all of this.
Yes, somebody who is bothered, worried about it, and yeah, absolutely.
Professor Seshadri, thank you very much for speaking with us. Thank you.
Absolutely.